Giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be, and wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom and Shalom. Alright, real brief. Just a couple things I saw that were interesting because we recently talked about it. So, right here it says recent highly documented instances of apocalyptic red or orange skies have occurred in at least 7 major locations. All right, it's, it's not ironic that it says 7, which there could be more than happen, but 7 completion. But anyways, spanning 3 continents in early 2026 and previously in 2019. These events are typically caused by intense dust storms, wildfires, or tropical cyclones that scatter sunlight, often resulting from Saharan dust transport or specific regional disasters. Right here are the specific locations identified in recent reports. Western Australia, Shark Bay, Denham, Pilbara. In late March 2026, Cyclone Narelle created a deep red sky by lifting iron-rich soil, which we just recently talked about that. Greece, okay, this is the most recent one. It just happened. Crete and Santorini. Around April 1st to April 2nd, 2026, Saharan dust carried by Storm Erminio turned skies over Greece deep red orange. Okay, and as it talks about, the moon was looking a little different. Okay, and then you also had this event occur, right, over Greece, Crete and Santorini. All right, Libya. In early April 2026, a massive Saharan dust storm, a blood red sky, was witnessed similar to Greece. Egypt. As of April 2nd, 2026, Saharan dust from the same weather pattern impacted Egypt, causing an eerie glow. Okay, now, these well, we're gonna get it. All right. So Indonesia, Jambi province, in 2019, intense forest fires turned the sky in central Sumatra a deep red for several days, which we can understand that, but you know, um, seeing what it actually looked like, because we know what a fire looks like, from a forest or whatever. But anyways, in Gibraltar, in March 2022, a heavy rainstorm combined with heavy Saharan dust caused the sky to turn orange. France, southwest regions including Toulon. In 2022, Sahara Desert dust caused orange-tinged skies. These events can also appear in other regions like Florida, USA, where Saharan dust frequently causes orange-red skies. Key drivers of red skies: Saharan air layer. This is their explanation for why. Dust transported across the Atlantic or Mediterranean. Tropical cyclones, as in Australia, these can pick up iron-rich soil. Wildfires and smoke particles can cause my scattering, I don't know, making the sky appear red. All right. Now, I'm going to go with the biblical answer here, and I guess I'll grab this one. All right. So Jeremiah chapter 10, chapter 10 and verse 2. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. And I actually thought I had this lit up. Okay. And then as it tells you in 2nd Ezra chapter 9, that the Lord visit the earth with signs and, well, let's just get it real quick. Signs and wonders. Because I want this to be super brief. Oh, I pushed the wrong button. I could have just jumped over there. Anyways, so, yep, so, um, let's just get to the point. I could read all that. Well, I could read it. He measured me then. He answered me then and said, measure it out the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand that it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people of the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Even so, The times also are the highest that plain beginnings of wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And that is something that we're seeing here with this these red and orange skies. Okay. Um and that's pretty much it on that. I want to pull something else up here. Uh, well, yeah, I can. Well, let me do this. Let me just pull a chapter up at least. Okay, so I want to go back over here to where's my is that it? Nope, that's not it. So what was it? I didn't know which one it was under. Oh, here it is. So what is all this other stuff? All right, so I'm gonna take this out and grab the other thing because supposedly you have. Okay, as of April 2nd, 2026, a coalition of more than 40 countries has convened to address the closure of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran. This effort is being led primarily by the United Kingdom, with the United States notably absent from the coalition talks. All right, so and we know why. All right, there's been a lot of smack talking coming from Babylon the Great towards their allies. Okay, saying that we're probably not going to be there for them because they weren't there for us. Da 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 da. So, participating countries, the following nations are among those participating in the coalition to restore freedom of navigation: Europe, all right, the UK, which is the lead, French, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Denmark, Latvia, Slovenia, Estonia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Czechia, Romania, Lithuania, Portugal, Croatia, Bulgaria, Kosovo, Albania, Moldova, and Greece. Americas, all right, Canada, Panama, Chile, Trinidad and Tobago, Asian Pacific, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, Marshall Islands, Middle Eastern Africa, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, India, Nigeria, and Somalia. All right, current actions and plans. The coalition is focusing on a multi-phase approach to reopen the waterway, with an emphasis on diplomatic and political solutions over immediate military force. So, diplomatic pressure. The group has issued a joint statement demanding Iran immediately cease its reckless attacks, stop laying mines, and allow safe passage for commercial ships in compliance with UN Security Council Resolution 2817. All right, Phase 1 mine clearing, Phase 2 escort mission. All right, it says France has proposed a mission to escort oil and gas tankers through the waterway to provide reassurance to the shipping industry. Okay, so this is what they're supposedly planning. Military planner. While avoiding offensive combat, military planners from several member nations are scheduled to meet next week to coordinate naval capabilities for maritime security. All right, humanitarian focus. The coalition is working with the International Maritime Organization, or IMO, to secure safety of approximately 20,000 seafarers and 2,000 ships currently trapped by the conflict. All right, the role of the United States. The U.S. is not participating in this specific coalition. President Donald Trump has stated that the responsibility for securing the strait lies with the countries that rely on its oil, rather than the U.S. However, the U.S. Navy and Israel continue their own separate military campaign, Operation Epic Fury, targeting Iranian naval assets and drone capabilities to degrade Iran's ability to maintain the blockade. Okay, and so going back over here to this, so what you have is this coalition, all right, of these, all right. So yep, and I know it started with Australian. Well, anyways, so you have supposedly, um, wait, is this something else? Okay, yeah, it is something else. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, oh yeah, that is something else. So as of April 2nd, 2026, the Australian government has reportedly deployed a small group of elite Special Air Service, or SAS, troops to the Middle East, supposedly. All right. Force size: a contingent of approximately 90 soldiers from the Special Air Service Regiment. The troops were reportedly sent to the region approximately 2 weeks ago. They are expected to be based at the Al Minhad Air Base near Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Purpose of the mission: the deployment is described as a precautionary measure amid escalating regional tensions involving Iran. Okay, um, I guess I can read it real quick. The troops are on standby for emergency evacuations of Australian diplomats and civilians if the security situation deteriorates further. Foreign Minister Penny Wong and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese have emphasized the Australia that Australia is not taking offensive action and will not be involved in any combat operations or potential U.S.-led attacks. The government's focus remains on diplomacy and the protection of Australia's abroad rather than active military engagement in the conflict. Okay, and then going back down to the these different countries. Okay, thinking about a plan for the Strait of Hormuz, and at the same time, which is why we try to pull this up. You have what Trump telling them, his allied members, all right, to go and get their own oil. That's what he told them, go get their own oil. All right. So, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, because eventually, all right, they're going to turn against Babylon the Great and destroy with missiles. Okay, along with the other countries that are under, Russia, right, the BRICS nations and all the plus nations and whoever else is going to join up that can shoot missiles on Babylon the Great. For the Most High had put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, and to the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. Alright, so there you go. So you just keep seeing more and more tension between Babylon the Great and NATO, or the allied countries, however you want to put it. Okay, and Trump is not stopping. Like every other chance he gets, he's talking, bad mouthing, down on his own allies. As a matter of fact, let me get two more before I close. Okay, so we see what that's leading to, that wedge, that tension. Okay, that's going to cause them to actually do what we just read, turn against them, burn it with the missiles. What was I looking for? Here it is. Daniel 7:20, and the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. All right. The NLT says what? Boasting arrogantly. All right. And Obadiah 1:7, all the men of thy confederacy, see your allies, NLT, all your allies will turn against you. They will help to chase you from your land. They will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. Your trusted friends will set traps for you, and you won't even know about it. See? And so, and we see the tension between Babylon the Great and these NATO allies. All right, and it's only going to get worse and worse and worse as the war goes on. So you have two parties here. Babylon the Great talking about opening up the Strait of Hormuz on their own, and then you also have these all these different 40 countries talking about opening up the Strait of Hormuz as well. So we'll see how all these events play out. But in between all of that, you have Trump talking down on them, which is why they have separate coalitions. All right, America's going on with its own progress, and those 40 countries are going on with those. And Trump himself said that he was not going to be there for NATO, and they just told him to go get their own oil. All right, so that was it. Oh, there was another. Well, it will be in the news. All right, a couple clips. I always add a couple clips there with these points I want to talk about. But yeah, the main thing was that those red skies. All right, popping up, red, orange skies. Okay, and then you got earthquakes in diverse places that's happening, and then you got this tension between Babylon the Great and its allies. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Lord willing, you edify. Shalom.
And for now, quickly shifting focus to breaking news that is just coming in from Indonesia, where tsunami waves of nearly 1 feet high have hit parts of Indonesia after a massive earthquake that struck the region. In fact, according to United States Geological Survey, an earthquake of magnitude 7.4 struck the northern Molucca Sea of Indonesia's historic Spice Island of Ternate. The quake has triggered a tsunami warning for neighboring Southeast Asian nations as well. However, there are no immediate reports of injuries, though the agency has reported aftershocks of magnitude as high as 5, and Indonesia has even called tsunami warnings for areas in its provinces of North Maluku and North Sulawesi. The quake, its magnitude revised down from an initial 7.8, struck at a depth of 35 kilometers. US Tsunami Warning System has also said that hazardous tsunamis are possible along the coast of Indonesia, the Philippines and Malaysia within 1,000 kilometers of the epicenter. Waves of height ranging from 0.3 meters to 1 meters above the tide level could hit some coastal areas of Indonesia. Additionally, Japan may also see waves of up to 8 inches, but no damages are expected as of now. So that's the latest that is coming in. This is from Indonesia, where tsunami waves of nearly 1 feet high have hit parts of the country, and this is after earthquake shook the region. Details coming in: United States Geological Survey. From the survey, which says that an earthquake of magnitude 7.4 struck the northern Molucca Sea of Indonesia's historic Spice Island of Ternate. The quake, in fact, has triggered tsunami warning, for which alerts have now been sounded in Indonesia and also for neighboring Southeast Asian countries. However, there are no immediate reports of injuries, while the agency has reported aftershocks of magnitude as high as 5, and Indonesia has even called tsunami warnings for areas in its provinces of North Maluku and North Sulawesi. The quake, its magnitude has been revised from an initial 7.8. It struck at a depth of 35 kilometers. Additionally, US Tsunami Warning System has also said that hazardous tsunamis are possible along the coast of Indonesia, the Philippines and Malaysia within 1,000 kilometers of the epicenter. Details also coming in: waves of height ranging from 0.3 meters to 1 meters above the tide level could hit some coastal areas of Indonesia. In fact, details are also trickling in regarding Japan, that may also see waves as high as 8 inches, but no damages are expected as of now, as per the details coming in.
Well, a state of emergency remains in force across parts of southern Russia after torrential rains triggered severe flash flooding. In the Dagestan capital, Makhachkala, visuals released by officials show streets submerged and key infrastructure inundated. Russia's Ministry of Emergency Situations says more than 3,300 people have been evacuated as floodwaters swept through residential areas. The crisis was triggered by intense rainfall and runoff from the Caucasus Mountains, sending surging waters through rivers and urban centers. Several bridges have been destroyed and access to affected communities has been cut off. Power outages have also compounded the disruption, with more than 130 settlements in Dagestan left without electricity. The impact has extended beyond Dagestan. In neighboring Chechnya, a state of emergency was declared after similar flooding damaged infrastructure and displaced residents. Emergency crews, supported by local residents, are working to clear debris and restore essential services. However, with unstable weather conditions persisting, authorities warn the situation remains fluid, with the risk of further flooding still very high.
This week, the latest class of U.S. Marines will be finishing basic training. The training is 13 weeks long. Recruits aren't allowed to see their families that entire time. And now, because of Trump's war with Iran, many of them may be deployed thousands of miles from their loved ones right away, which is what makes this news all the more gut-wrenching. The Marine Corps told NBC News that ICE agents will be stationed outside graduation events for the nation's newest Marines to identify whether any of their family members are undocumented. Let that sit for a moment.
And Donald Trump has launched a fresh tirade against European nations for refusing to join the U.S. offensive against Iran. Now, Trump, in fact, told allies to go get their own oil, saying that it is not America's job to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump claimed that the U.S. offensive could, of course, conclude within 2 to 3 weeks, and has warned that he will not have anything to do with the waterway's future.
I think that the people understand it. will be leaving very soon. And if France or some other country wants to get oil or gas, they'll go up through the Strait and Hormuz Strait. They'll go right up there and they'll be able to fend for themselves. I think it'll be very safe, actually, but we have nothing to do with that.
And earlier on Truth Social, Trump had told governments had worried about the fuel prices to go get their own oil by force, and this outburst followed proactive pushback from Europe. Now, France had blocked Israeli planes carrying weapons from its airspace. Italy denied last-minute landing rights to U.S. bombers in Sicily, and Spain has barred the U.S. from using its bases and airspace. While the UK allows the use of its bases for a war on its own government deems to be illegal, it still has faced Trump's public admonishment. Now, Trump, in fact, suggested the United Kingdom and others should build up some delayed courage and take control of the straits themselves. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth echoed this questioning as to why the big bad Royal Navy was not stepping up to help out the Americans.
Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most. So the world ought to pay attention to be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on.
And the United Kingdom is sending extra troops and more air defense systems to the region for defensive action on a trip to the Gulf. Nation's Defense Secretary John Healey said that extra air defense systems will be deployed to Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and Kuwait, while the use of Typhoon jets in Qatar will be extended. This will raise the number of UK personnel involved in the defense of the Gulf and Cyprus to around 1,000. Meanwhile, the economic fallout of war is intensifying. The Irish leader Michael Martin has described the resulting oil supply shock as probably the worst ever. With US gas prices now exceeding $4 a gallon, Trump is facing a domestic discontentment over this month-long conflict. From the Vatican, the Pope has also expressed hope for an end to the violence by Easter weekend. In an unusual direct appeal, he's urged President Donald Trump to look for an off-ramp to end this war.
So I would certainly continue to give this call to all leaders of the world to say, come back to the table for dialogue. Let's look for solutions to problems. Let's look for ways to reduce the amount of violence that we're promoting. And the peace, especially at Easter, might bring that.
Now, earlier during his Palm Sunday address, the pontiff had remarked that God ignores the prayers of leaders with hands full of blood, a statement widely seen as a rebuke of Donald Trump and his war on West Asia.
Go get your own oil. Those are the words of U.S. President Donald Trump today as anger grows across some countries over the continued chokehold that Iran maintains on the Strait of Hormuz. That chokehold has disrupted the flow of about 20% of all natural gas and crude oil traded during peacetime. Now, Iran is maintaining that grip on the strait, and Trump's post on Truth Social looked to call out countries that he believes aren't doing enough to help the American military effort against Iran. He was urging countries to go to the strait and open it up themselves as well, showing the pressure that he's under both at home as gasoline prices rise and abroad, where especially Asian customers of Middle East oil are really hurting right now, and some of those countries are putting restrictions and other caps on usage of fuel right now. Now, it remains unclear what it's going to take for the Iranians to open up the strait. They've insisted that they're not going to do this, and so far they've rejected points brought forward by the Americans for a potential ceasefire. Now, the U.S. military is continuing its strikes on Iran, including one on Esfahan today that apparently blew up a munitions dump there. And we also saw the Iranians attack a Kuwaiti oil tanker off the coast of Dubai, where I am. That tanker caught fire, but authorities were able to put out the blaze without any oil seeping into the Persian Gulf.